Welcome to the next presentation. This is the one about the application board. So we already have seen that Bonai Kineso uses a business motivation model to explain why we do what we do within Bonai Kineso. And there are 4 pillars in Bonai Kineso: the business domain, application board, the roadmap, and the testing board. The previous presentation that we had already covered the business domain to some extent. And now we are going to see what the motivation is behind the application board. If you match the colors, you can see that application board or vision is in fact a synonym. We are going to try to match within the motivation model why we use an application board. We are building a product. We are doing software development, so we are building a product. And before you can even start building a product, you need to have a concept. You need to know, at least on a very high level, what your result is, what your vision is about your product. And that is something that we capture in an application board. So if you look at an application board, we build a product. That product covers, in fact, a process. Your business, your clients, they are executing a process. They are following a certain process, but they want the help of a product, of a software product, to help them guide that process and perhaps also to become more efficient in executing that process. For that, your business domain will be the basis, but your company needs to build a sort of vision statement. Yeah, so we want to do this kind of process because of this and this reason, and that's our goal that we want to achieve. Now, these processes, they are part of what we call quality assurance. Quality assurance is all about setting up processes, following them up, making sure that the whole organization knows about the process and follows the same process. The product that we are building covers those business processes. But for a product, we need quality control. We need to verify that, in fact, our product is correct, and we have to validate that our business in fact thinks the product that we are building is the correct one. And a first step in that process of making sure that we are building the right product is that we create a sort of vision board. And that vision board, that's what we call in Bonai Kineso the application board. Now, there are some principles, let's say, about an application board. The first one is that it's a visualization of a product. Yeah. Secondly, you have to think that it's also department related. So one department doesn't need to have exactly the same vision board or application board as another department. To give you an idea, if I'm in a department in your organization building a front end, a GUI, we will have, like, for instance, a search function. Yeah, that's what our vision is for the product, that there is a search function. On the other hand, we have another department that is doing all the web services, all the APIs, stuff like that, making sure that we have the correct databases. They also will have a search function, but it's not the same. It's more on a technical level. They will, in fact, more describe what they will fetch and how they will fetch and what kind of filters they can use. And perhaps there is also a technical department. They have to set up environments and perhaps also to test. They will have to set up virtualization. So their application board will be slightly different. They are having a view on the databases, the environments, the virtualization and stuff like that. And then, of course, we cannot just go and do it. So we need also some security. So perhaps we have a security department and they will have, like, for instance, authorization. They will have authentication. They will have like penetration and so on. So you see that different departments can have different application boards for the same product. And it's normal because each of those functionalities within these departments, they are all distinct. They don't overlap. Yeah? They are building there a dependency between departments, but they don't overlap in functionality. Also important to know is that if you look within one department, also there the breakdown of your product does not overlap. It's distinct, it's unique. Yeah. So if you have a functionality A and a functionality B, there is no overlap between those functionalities. If there is, you have to split it. You have to have 3 functionalities instead of 2. So you have a high level view of your product, but you also need to indicate within your application board what is your MVP, your minimal viable product. What is the minimum that your product will contain once you offer it to your clients, to your business? So that's already one distinction. Also within the application board, you have to make sure that it is traceable towards the business domain. Everything that you do or that you have in your application board is somehow related to what your business domain is saying. The business processes, for instance, the rules, and so on. And then we also already mentioned, if we have a product, we have to have quality control, we have to have software testing. So it also means that our application board needs to be traceable towards the testing board. It will use it as a test basis or as a way to determine what the scope will be for testing. Now, having all those functionalities being distinct, there is no overlap, doesn't mean that the functionality cannot be delivered in multiple steps. Yeah? So therefore you also need a traceability towards the roadmap, towards what will I deliver in time and which functionalities will be affected by that. And then lastly, you also have to think of an application board as something like a business view more. So it is independent of the way that your software development is being done. Whether you follow Agile or RIP or Waterfall or V-Model, it doesn't matter. Your application board is independent of that way of working. Another way to look at an application board is to see it as a product breakdown structure. And I mentioned this term very specifically. Why? Because it's something that is already around since the beginning of software development. Yeah, it's a sort of hierarchical diagram that shows the breakdown of a product into smaller manageable components. And to be honest, it's also a visual representation of the product's components and their relationships to each other. So it can be that although you have a tree view, that you also have connections over certain leaves in that tree. So for instance, if you say I have a list functionality, it can be that there is a link with the search functionality, because you only want to list perhaps using a certain filter which is in a part of the search functionality. And I already mentioned it, the application board is also related to the roadmap. There is a traceability between them. And in your roadmap, in fact, you are defining the work that you are going to do for each delivery, for each release in production. And therefore a PBS is often used in preparation of the WBS, which is the work breakdown structure. Another ancient way of breaking down what you are going to do. So we already have seen 3 synonyms for an application board, we sometimes will talk about the vision board. This is more a terminology used in Agile. We can use also the word PBS, product breakdown structure, which is more used in, for instance, waterfall projects. But to make sure that Bonai is independent from the way you are doing your software development, we just will talk about the application board. Yeah, so that's how, and that's the motivation behind the application board. It's a sort of glue between all the other pillars, making sure that we have a unique view on what we foresee, envision for the product that we are building. So that was it. I hope that you join me in the next presentation as well. Thank you.